The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
When Judas had left them, Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and God will glorify him at once. My children, I will be with you only a little while longer. I give you a new commandment: love one another. As I have loved you, so you also should love one another. This is how all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My brothers and sisters, as we're celebrating the 5th Sunday of Easter, we have begun, perhaps, forget about the spirit of Easter. Flower bouquets in the church not display as many as the Easter Sunday. Number of people attendance in the church are not as many as Easter Sunday. Even though the presider in the celebration is still wearing the same Easter chasuble, and we still call these Sundays Easter, but the length of time easily wears people out and makes people to forget about the beginning. So the church has been wisely chosen the readings to enable us to continue to live the spirit of Easter. As we heard today, the Gospel of John reporting the very last moment that Jesus shared with his disciples on earth. What he had foretold happened. Now the disciples in that evening are waiting to see what is next. And what is next? Jesus reminded his disciples that, "I love you, but this is not personal or individual impression. This is the universal love. Love from the Father. The Father loves the Son as much as He has given the Son for the world, with a purpose to gather all kind of peoples together. Not only the Israelites, not only the Jews, not only the disciples, but all." As you see, the same author, St. John, wrote in the book of Revelation, in the end, the church, the Christ, the Messiah, the one who came and died for all, will make everyone new. Not a different person, the same person, but new form because we have a bigger family. Through faith, we were baptized. Through baptism, we have become brothers and sisters. How many of us have forgotten that we are brothers and sisters even while we are reading the prayer, Our Father? It could be a fake prayer when you don't feel the one next to you is brother or sister. How can you call God's Father and you denied God's children? It's impossible. Only hatred can break the bond of kinship. You might have experienced in the family's life when the children, the siblings, they live with some jealousy. They complain the parents about injustice. They complain with the parents about inequality of their treatment between brothers and sisters. And if the parents cannot resolve or cannot satisfy or respond their complaint, they deny their parents. Even without saying that I refuse you as my parents, the way they live, the way they hate their parents, it broke the relationship. In the same manner, when a brother has begun to complain about the share in the family or unjust treatment or unfair relationship among the children, he denied that he's a part of the blood of that family. So if we don't understand what Jesus' mission was, today he spelled it out clearly for us. His mission is to come and bring the entire university into one love of God's Father. And this love is universal, means for everyone. So before he departed from this earthly life, Jesus set on forms and models for the disciples and followers to exercise. First, in order to love, one has to be humble. Humility from the gospel lesson is not the way, or I would say the fake humility in our life. The fake humility is the gesture of the one who lost himself or his dignity in order to gain some benefit. For instance, one can be very polite with his boss, but he's not nice with his colleagues, co-workers. That's fake humility, even fake identity. Somebody can be so good with some people, try all of his efforts to be nice and kind and useful to somebody, but when he returns home, he is so mean to his siblings or relatives. That the fake human dignity. He created his own dignity to show to people I am good, but in reality, in the real life, he has double life. That is not real love. For Jesus, a real person is a person who lives with his sincerity and humility before all people. Every moment in our life, God is before us, beside us, and in us. Live in truth. Everybody is imperfect, but God's love can perfect us each day. And in order for us to be in the perspective of God's love, we have to be real. I give you another example. In order for you to have a good life, healthy life, you need to do frequent or often general examination of your health. Besides on the results of the test, you have to be real to tell the doctor of whatever signs or symptoms you have in your daily life. If you try to hide on the sign or symptoms, doctor cannot help. Doctor cannot help. So back to our relationship with God and with others. People can only help you, God can only save you if you are real. So a humble person is a person who lives in his reality. Second, God set a model for us that a humble person is a person who has a love for everyone. Remember before this moment in John chapter 13, verses 31 to 35, what did Jesus do? He took off his out garment. The outfit is in their cultures classify the level of a person. He took that off and he knelt down, put himself on the floor to wash the feet of his disciples. Even though at that moment he knew Peter would deny him, even though Judas would betray him, his love for all, no exclusive, all is included. So a humble person who lives God's love has to love everyone. Don't tell God that He's not nice to me, I don't love Him. No. God doesn't listen to those kind of complaints. What God asks of us in the end is make ourselves new. Forget the past. Look at one another with their newness in faith. If you live with your individual love as yourself, you know and experience more than I do. You know how to love one person. You know how to care for the person you love. You know how to protect the person who loves you. It's easy. Jesus challenged all of His disciples and challenged us today. As you see, the task, the mission of the first apostles in the first reading we heard today from the Acts of the Apostles. The testimony that the disciples brought to people, not about what they did, but what God did in their life. So when we come to those who never met God, who did not know God, what you share with people is what God has done in your life. How have you become new in God's love? Don't think you can do anything. Last week I talked with a person who I consider as my spiritual director, and I said to him, you know, when I have too many things to do, too many tasks that entrusted to me, usually the last sentence I said to myself at the end of the day is, Joseph, you are not that important. Don't worry. Go to bed. God will do the rest. Sometimes we think we are so important that without us, things cannot be accomplished. That is not a humble person who lives with God's love for all. But that doesn't mean that we can live irresponsibility. We have to respond to our life and our brothers and sisters. but responsible in God's way. If you don't responsible, if you live without responsibility in God's way, you become dictator. You dictate the life of others people. You plan people and ask them to do this and to do that, and you demanding. Now, you see, in the war, not in just merely, just not in Ukraine, but in the cyber, people can trigger any war at any time with any word. When people try to get themselves the power of becoming a judge or dictator, people ask other people, you have to do this. You must say that. But they don't, or even they will not understand that. The best words to do is, this is what I have to do for you, not what you have to do. Jesus said, what I did for you, that is what you did do for others. So what did I do for my brothers and sisters? Did I do in a way that God has taught me to do? Today the gospel asks us, on the 5th Sunday of Easter, remember, God has overcome the death and hatred, sins and mistake, because He paved the new pathway for us, make us anew in His new life. Through His new life, on of the history of the failure and betrayal human beings reconstructed in God's salvific economy. So God asks us today, learn what Jesus has said for us. A model of humble person, a person who lives in reality. Don't show off. Don't put on ourselves the shirts that are too big for us. Don't use fake identity and create some fake dignity. Live in reality is living in truth. And the truthful journey for us is, we can never ever be perfect. Don't expect people to be perfect for you. Look at God, who can help us to arrive in His perfectness. That is the cross. Everybody, every one of us will be perfect in His love, because we will be redeemed. If we believe that, this is what I advise you to do this week. In everything you do or say this week, be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. In everything that you would provide or treat others, be true to people. We don't need to color ourselves, because, excuse me to say this honestly, before God, everyone is pure and naked. God sees everything inside, so we don't need to color or label ourselves. God loves the imperfection in us, because He could help us to be perfect. So be true to yourself. Be humble to see the differences in others. Don't think whatever thing that you know is true would be the truth for others. The truth is the truth. Don't over-expect people. Don't overestimate people. and then come with some unsuccessful experience. Every one of us is unique. We distinguish from one another, and that is the gift of human being that God has freely given to us. So accept one another. And the last advice I would have for you is learn to love in truth. Be true, humble, and love in truth. Because in our individual love, you can only take care for the person whom you love and adore her or himself. But in universal love, God said for us, everybody is loving, living of God. If you and I can learn how to live that universal love, we have high respect for others. Every single person, no matter what job they have, no matter how beautiful they are or ugly they would be, we love them with their true and sincerity. That's the 3 advices I have for you this week. And if you cannot do that, please understand, I cannot do that as well. Don't expect too much in me. The only thing I wish you expect in me is my faithful to God and to His people. A faithful person is a person who lives with his own heart for others. That is God's love. Amen.